So we're going to be simplifying ratios in this video, and there are two key principles we need to keep in mind. The first one is that ratios should be expressed using the same units. You shouldn't have meters on one side and kilometers on the other, so same units on both sides of your ratio. The other is that ratios should be in whole numbers, no decimals, no fractions. Alright, let's do some questions. So we're going to simplify this ratio here. So 25 meters is to 1500 centimeters, or 1500 centimeters. Those units are different. That's a problem because we want them in the same units. Now, you can do it two ways, but I think the easiest way to do it would be to convert these centimeters into meters. Now, to convert centimeters to meters, you divide by 100. So divide this by 100. And we're going to have 25 meters is to 15 meters when we divide by 100. Okay, so we have 25 meters is to 15 meters. Now, because the units are the same now, we can get rid of them. We don't need them at all. So we can just write this as 25 is to 15. Now, we can see that there's a highest common factor here. We can simplify. 25 is to 15. There's a highest common factor here of 5. So we can divide by 5. 25 divided by 5 is 5. 15 divided by 5 is 3. We are finished. We have simplified this ratio from 25 meters to 1,500 centimeters to 5 is to 3. Much neater, much nicer. Second example, and you can see again the units are different, and that's a problem. So 45 seconds is to 2 minutes. The easiest way to do this would be to convert these minutes into seconds. So when we do that, we multiply by 60 because there's 60 seconds in 1 minute. 2 times 60 is 120. I'll just write times 60 there. 120 seconds and 45 seconds here. Okay, now we don't need the units, right? Because now that they're in the same units, we can just get rid of those. 45 is to 120. All right. I can see that these are both going to be divisible by 5 because this ends in a 5 and this ends in a 0, which means they're both divisible by 5. So if I divide by 5, I'll get 9 is to 24. But wait, 9 and 24, they have a common factor as well. They're both divisible by 3. So if I divide both of those by 3, I get 9 divided by 3 is 3. 24 divided by 3 is 8. Now, I've been a little bit lazy here. I really need some equals signs all the way down. Same here. Alright, so I know what I'm doing. I'm showing this is equal to this, is equal to this, is equal to this, is equal to this. Great. So this next example here doesn't have any units, so we're good. But it doesn't have all whole numbers. This is a mixed number, not a whole number. So, what can I do? Well, first of all, I'm going to write this as an improper fraction. 2 times 2 is 4, plus the 1 makes 5, so that's going to be 5 over 2 as an improper fraction. Is to 1, is to 3. Alright, so that's the same as that, so equals. And then I need to say to myself, right, what could I multiply everything by so that this is no longer a fraction? This is 5 over 2. So if I did 5 divided by 2 times 2, that 2 will cancel out. So multiplying by 2 across the whole thing, right? Because everything I do to one, I've got to do to the others. So 5 over 2 times 2 will be 5. 1 times 2 will be 2, and 3 times 2 will be 6. That is our simplified ratio because they're all whole numbers and there's no common factors there, so I'm finished. Now, if you're a bit upset by this mixed number, you could have done it a slightly different way. Alternative, you could have said 2.5. I know what that is. That's 2.5 is to 1 is to 3. Okay, now that's a decimal. What can I multiply that decimal by so that it's a whole number? Now you might have realized I can multiply it by 2, but that might have been a bit tricky. So instead you might say, well, if I multiply it by 10, that will move over there. So 2.5 times 10, I'm just doing this so you can see that there are other ways of doing these questions. Multiplying this by 10 would give you 25. Multiplying that by 10 would give you 10, and multiplying that by 10 would give you 30. And then you look at these and you say, oh, these all have a common factor. They all have a common factor of 5, so I can divide it all by 5. 25 divided by 5 is 5, 10 divided by 5 is 2, and 30 divided by 5 is 6. Same answer. Tick. Alright, so this is the question. This is one method using mixed numbers. This is another method using decimals and then multiplying by 10 to get myself to the answer. So now we have 3.5 is to 4.25. This is a decimal one. So how can I get rid of those decimals? Well, in this one I multiplied by 10 because I needed that decimal to be here, so I'd have 35 or 25. Doesn't work here because if I multiply by 10, that decimal is going to be here, which still leaves me with 42.5. So I've got to multiply by more than that. I've got to multiply by 100 to get that decimal point to here. So multiplying by 100, 3.5 multiplied by 100, 350, is to 425. Okay, and now I might need a calculator here. Divide both sides by 5, and you'll get 70 is to 85. And then we can divide both sides by 5 again. 70 divided by 5 is 14, and 85 divided by 5 is 17. And we have a finished ratio, a simplified ratio of 14 is to 17. Alright, this has been simplifying ratio. Follow these two key guiding principles and you can't really go wrong.